I am grateful for my life. I am grateful to the Most High God for everything that I have been allowed to experience in my life, my journey and experiences in this incarnation, for having a life purpose, and the ability to appreciate what we go through on this planet as we try to raise the vibration and spread love, peace, and happiness to others. So I want to talk about understanding the hierarchy of demonic principalities and the structure of angels as well as according to the Bible and maybe some other sources. So, welcome everyone. Today we're going to explore the biblical perspective on demonic principalities, their hierarchy, and their mission. Additionally, we'll examine significant figures such as Baal, Dagon, Chemosh, Asherah, El, Adrammelech, Anat, and Ashima. We'll also delve into the roles of key angels, including Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Chamuel, Metatron, as well as the cherubim, seraphim, Raphael, Zadkiel, Haniel, Raguel, and Apollyon. So I guess first where we start is talking about Satan, who in this particular series of narratives in the Word of God is known as the chief adversary. Satan's role is that he is the chief antagonist, working against God and against humanity, trying to take people off track. He acts as the accuser, the tempter, and a deceiver. And as we know, he can be a major trickster as well because whatever is good in this world, he tries to corrupt that. Job chapter 1, verses 6 to 12, Satan is the accuser in heavenly court. In Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11, you have Satan tempting Jesus in the wilderness. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, he's described as the great dragon as well as the great deceiver. Let's now go into a description of the principalities and the powers, as we know it from the Bible and any other spiritual texts. Um, Terms used in the New Testament of the Bible describe different ranks or categories of spiritual entities that stand in opposition to God. In terms of the biblical references, we know that in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, we have, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." In Colossians chapter 2, verse 15, "Having disarmed principality and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them in it." So as we can see here, the Bible definitely refers to this being a threat, and it's not a physical threat that you can attack in the flesh and defeat. It is more of a spiritual thing that kind of works in very mysterious ways, possessing people, corrupting people, moving from person to person, however they have to do to cause chaos amongst the midst of humanity. Um, Now, Beelzebub and the devil, and in the Bible, Baal is one particular false god or idol that gets referred to. There's a reference to Baal in 1 Kings chapter 18, describing the confrontation between Elijah and the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. And then we also have in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 23, Baal is mentioned in context of Israel's idolatry as being a serious problem. Dagon is the god of the Philistines, considered the lord of the gods and the lord of the land in some early records. In terms of biblical references, we have 1 Samuel chapter 5. The Philistines placed the Ark of the Covenant in Dagon's temple, where the idol of Dagon then falls and is damaged. We also have reference to Chemosh. The role of Chemosh is a false god worshipped by the Moabites. And in terms of references in the Bible, we see in the book of Numbers, chapter 21, verse 29, there is a reference to Chemosh as the god of the Moabites. In 2 Kings, chapter 23, verse 13, King Josiah destroys any of the high places which are dedicated to Chemosh. Another figure we have is Asherah. In terms of Asherah's role, Asherah is an ancient Israelite goddess associated with sacred groves and worshipped as the consort of Yahweh. The prophet Elijah sought to erase all instances of Asherah from history. In terms of biblical references, we have in 1 Kings chapter 18, Elijah's efforts are documented as against the worship of Asherah. And in 2 Kings chapter 23, verses 4 to 7, we see the removal of Asherah poles and any Asherah's worship sites. So now let's talk about El. El, in terms of role, is a well-known god in the ancient Near East, recognized in Canaanite religious literature, sometimes associated with the god of the ancestors or Canaanite shrines. In terms of biblical references, we have Genesis chapter 14, verse 18, where Melchizedek is described as a priest of God Most High, and this title is sometimes linked to El. We also have Adrammelech. In terms of role, this is an ancient Semitic god mentioned briefly in the Book of Kings. In terms of biblical references, we have 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 31. Adrammelech is worshipped by the Sephardites. Okay. Next, we have Anat. In terms of the role, Anat is a goddess referenced in the Hebrew Bible. In terms of biblical references, we have Joshua chapter 19, verse 38, mentioned as part of many location names, and in Judges chapter 1, verse 33, mentioned in reference to Bethanath. Right? We also have Ashima. In terms of Ashima's role, Ashima is a deity worshipped in the cities of Samaria. And in terms of biblical references, we have 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 30, where this alleged god is mentioned among the deities worshipped by the Samaritans. So now I want to turn to the topic of fallen angels. In terms of fallen angels, their role is that they are those who rebelled against God and were cast out of heaven. They are often associated with Satan and serve as his agents in opposition to divine will, which is, as we know, very problematic, particularly because angels are supposed to be enforcing God's will, not running counter to it. In terms of biblical references, we have Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 to 15, describes the fall of Lucifer, often interpreted as a reference to the fall of Satan. Lucifer itself usually means either morning star or light bringer. Revelation chapter 12, verses 7 to 9, describes a war in heaven in which Michael and his angels fight against the dragon, which is Satan, and his angels, leading to their expulsion. Now I want to talk about the Nephilim, and these are the children of angels and humans, which, as we know, is not supposed to be possible because it was never intended for angels and humans to mix. But of course, creation does have some sort of will, and free will, that is. The Nephilim are often described as the offsprings of the sons of God, which are interpreted as fallen angels, and the daughters of men. They are often associated with giants or mighty beings. In terms of biblical references, Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 4, when human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown, as according to the reference. In Numbers chapter 13, verse 33, the spies report seeing giants in the form of Nephilim in the land of Canaan. And obviously, this is a big problem. I think also there might have been a reference to that with the Philistines as well, but I don't have a site for that, so I apologize. Um, what about key angels in biblical and mystical traditions? Because the Bible doesn't mention many angels, but there are other traditions that do talk about them, like the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. So let's start with Michael. In terms of role, Michael is an archangel and leader of the heavenly armies. Michael fights against the forces of evil. In terms of biblical references, we have Revelation chapter 12, verses 7 to 9, where Michael leads the heavenly hosts in battle against Satan. And we have Daniel chapter 10, verse 13. Michael is described as a known protector of Israel and its people. Um, we have Gabriel, or Gabriel, however you choose to pronounce that. And the role is that Gabriel is a messenger angel who delivers important messages from God. In terms of biblical references, we have in Luke chapter 1, verse 19, Gabriel announces the birth of John the Baptist to Zechariah. In Luke chapter 1, verses 26 to 38, Gabriel announces the birth of Jesus to Mary. We have Uriel, whose role is often considered as the angel of wisdom and enlightenment. In terms of biblical references, we have 2nd Esdras, chapter 4, verses 1 to 5. And this is an apocryphal text, which means that this is not necessarily mainstream Bible canon. Uriel explains visions to the prophet Ezra. Note that Uriel is not mentioned in the canonical text of the Bible, but appears in some Jewish traditions and apocryphal writings. We have Chamuel, or Chamuel, whose role is that Chemosh is associated with love and the search for lost souls or objects. In terms of biblical references, Chemosh does not appear in the canonical Bible, but is recognized in various Jewish and Christian mystical traditions. We then have Metatron, and Metatron is actually a very popular angel, but it also is not going to be directly mentioned in the Bible. In terms of role, Metatron is regarded as the highest of angels of the celestial scribes. Metatron is more prominent in Kabbalistic and mystical traditions of Judaism rather than in direct canonical biblical texts. So that's why you're not going to have a biblical reference for Metatron, and it's really just more in Jewish mystical traditions. Um, in terms of the cherubim, their roles is that they are the guardians of divine presence and they are symbols of God's majesty and mystery, often depicted as powerful beings with multiple faces and wings. And in terms of any biblical references, they are mentioned in Genesis chapter 3, verse 24, where the cherubim are placed at the Garden of Eden to guard the way to the tree of life. Also mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 10, cherubim are described as part of the vision of God's chariot. Up next, we have the seraphim. And so their roles are that they are associated with the worship and praise of God. They're often depicted as having 6 wings. And we also keep in mind that many angels, as described in the Bible, don't look how we traditionally think of them. We've anthropomorphized them more over time. In terms of biblical references, we have Isaiah chapter 6, verses 2 to 3. The seraphim are seen in Isaiah's vision, praising God and calling out, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. We also have the angel Raphael, and Raphael's role is often considered to be a healing angel and a guide. In terms of biblical references, we have Tobit, chapter 15, chapter 12, verse 15. And this is an apocryphal text, so this is not canonical mainstream Bible. Raphael is revealed as one of the seven angels who stand in the presence of God and provides healing and guidance to Tobit and his family. We have Zadkiel. Zadkiel's role is that Zadkiel's associated with mercy as well as benevolence. In terms of biblical references, additionally, Zadkiel is also not necessarily mentioned in the canonical Bible, but is mentioned in various Jewish and Christian mystical traditions. In other words, these are materials which are supplementary to what we know as the traditional Bible. We then have Haniel, where Haniel is often associated with joy and harmony. And in terms of biblical references, we ain't got none. No, just kidding. Haniel does not appear in the canonical Bible, but is noted in some mystical traditions and a field known as angelology. Although I think they made that up, but that's not a real field, is it? Raguel. Raguel is, in terms of role, known as the angel of justice, fairness, and harmony. And once again, in terms of biblical references, Raguel is also not mentioned in the canonical Bible, but appears in various apocryphal texts and I cannot pronounce that word. Angelological traditions. I got it finally. That was a tongue twister. Apollyon. In terms of role, Apollyon is an angel of the abyss, often associated with destruction and chaos. In terms of biblical references, Apollyon is mentioned. Yes, we actually have a biblical reference for this one in Revelation chapter 9, verse 11. 9:11. Apollyon is described as the angel of the bottomless pit, leading locusts to torment people. So obviously, that's not an angel you want to ever have to meet or come across. Let's talk about the mission and structure now, in terms of primarily the demonic forces. So the mission of the demonic forces is to oppose God's plan and lead humanity into sin, engaged in temptation, deception, as well as moral corruption. And of course, time wasting, because as our inclinations on this planet are very time limited, if they can get us off track for a long enough time, eventually we'll run out of time to complete our missions. The angels, now in contrast, are as protectors, guides, and enforcers of God's will. In terms of key roles, they deliver messages, they protect the faithful, and they uphold divine justice. In terms of structure, Satan or the principalities are definitely at the top. Well, Satan probably being above the principalities. And we have the fallen angels and the rulers of darkness as lower ranks within that particular hierarchy. And spiritual hosts and the Nephilim and the fallen angels might be additional entities to consider. Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Chamuel, Metatron, the cherubim, the seraphim, Raphael, Zadkiel, Haniel, Raguel, and Apollyon serve as key figures in the more divine angelic hierarchies with very specific roles and functions. So let's summarize this, as we've kind of gone on quite a bit about the rank and file order here. In summary, the Bible and various traditions provide a framework for understanding both demonic forces as well as significant angels. Satan is the chief adversary, with the principalities and powers as high-ranking entities. Figures such as Baal, Dagon, Chemosh, Asherah, Adrammelech, Anat, and Ashima illustrate the diverse false deities as opposed to the one true God. Fallen angels and the Nephilim highlight the extent of spiritual opposition, while key angels like Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Chamuel, Metatron, the cherubim, the seraphim, Raphael, Zadkiel, Haniel, Raguel, and Apollyon represent beings within the divine order and its various functions. I hope you've enjoyed this message. If you're new here, welcome aboard. You're welcome to the family. This is a safe space. If you're returning, I appreciate you. Keep this channel going. And please like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. You have a wonderful and blessed day. I love you. I love you. Take care. Bye.